Now, if the opening 2 game weeks haven't gone your way, don't worry, I've got you covered with the ultimate wildcard guide in today's video. Now, before we dive into today's video, I just want to say that if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, we are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the calendar year. It would be absolutely incredible if we could do that. And also, I want to say thank you for your amazing support on the last video, helping it hit 25k, which is something I never thought would be possible on this channel, but you guys are amazing. Absolutely love you. Let's hope we can, continue to hit these amazing milestones as we progress forward as a channel. Right, before we go and dive into the wildcard itself, I think first what we need to do is identify teams that we want to be looking to target. So we've got the 11FI data up. I will leave a link to their amazing work in the description. Now, what this will allow us to do is look for clean sheet percentages and for projected goals, because realistically, that's how we're going to identify the best teams. The FDR rating on Fantasy Football's obviously website is a little bit sketchy at times, so I feel maybe looking at, kind of the underlying data with some of these teams and projected data is going to give us a better picture on who we need to be targeting. As we can see, at the top for clean sheets, it is going to be Manchester City, Arsenal and Liverpool. Obviously, they've got some amazing fixtures coming up, and it, bodes well for the clean sheet percentages. If we look at how Arsenal and City and Liverpool have all been doing over the opening few weeks as well, the first 2 weeks that is, they've been very, very good for XG conceded, and I imagine that will continue throughout the year. It seems like they've got those defensive structures in place and definitely can obviously go on to keep more clean sheets. Now, obviously, Manchester City and Arsenal do play each other in 4 and 5, but if we look at the clean sheet data, it's not the worst in the world, and it wouldn't put me off playing either, defender if we go for one of those we'll see with the wild card, maybe like a Gabriel or a Gavardiol. It wouldn't actually put me off because the clean sheet data isn't awful from 11FI, and it's actually better than some of the other teams around, that you might be thinking about potentially rotating with as well for those game weeks. So, just worth a little bit of consideration. Liverpool up there as well, so the likes of Trent, Robertson, Konate, Virgil van Dijk definitely on the radar. Chelsea make it in there as a maybe one to watch. They've got some great fixtures on the FDR, but overall, I'm not 100% convinced, by their defensive record so far. Villa definitely a team I'm going to be looking at. They've got some great fixtures coming up. They've also got pretty decent clean sheet odds here, as we can see as well. Everton's are a mixed bag, and there's definitely some positive fixtures. I think maybe Lewis Dunk, if you're looking for rotation around 4 and 5 for the difficult Arsenal and obviously City fixtures, Lewis Dunk could be a great option at 4.5 with a 36% and a 33%. Other teams I think we probably should be looking to avoid. Manchester United on this wildcard, the projected data isn't great and some of the fixtures are not easy on paper as well. Tottenham, they've shown that they're still struggling to manage to, defend. We saw that against Leicester. I don't think Everton troubled them, but Everton aren't really going to trouble anyone this season. They only managed to score 40 goals last year. I think they are a team that you probably would bank away from home, and if you're the home team, you're going to keep a clean sheet. Newcastle as well, they've not looked great in the opening 2, and the clean sheet data as well, so obviously we're not going to be looking at people like Burn or Lewis Hall, but obviously he was benched today. So there's some of the teams I would be looking to identify with defender picks. Moving on to the projected goals, again this is all from 11FI, and I will leave a link in the description if you want to go and check it out for yourself. Moving on to the projected goals, as we can see, it's that same kind of cluster of teams towards the top. Obviously the kind of standout fixture is going to be 5, where they obviously play each other, and as you can see, they are a little bit lower in that. However though, the likes of Erling Haaland, Mohamed Salah, Diego Jota, these type of players, Bukayo Saka, are going to be, for me, pretty much required, to be honest, to have in your sides. As you can see, the projected goals data is looking very, very scrumptious indeed for some of these sides as well. So it bodes well for obviously picking their attackers. Chelsea and Aston Villa as well, kind of, pulling their strings up as well with some decent projected goal numbers. So the likes of Rodgers, Cole Palmer, obviously starting to enter our thought processes with some great fixtures, good clean sheet data, and solid projected goals as well. I think it's probably worth also identifying that Game Week 4 and Game Week 5 fixture for the likes of João Pedro or maybe Danny Welbeck as well. Even Game Week 7 as well is pretty decent. And as we can see, Brentford are a team that you probably want to start monitoring as well, with some decent projected goal involvements coming up. Matchday 3 against Southampton, then 2 difficult games for Matchday 4 and Matchday 5. But after that, again, they pick up the likes of Mbeumo and Vissa as well, also starting to enter our thought processes when when building this wildcard. That was the projected data. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below. Like I said, I will leave a link in the description so you can go and check it out for yourself. But let's move on to my wildcard draft for Game Week 3. Wasting no time and diving straight into the team. First off, let's start off with our goalkeeper picks. We're going with Flecken and we're going with the backup Brentford goalkeeper. I think 4.5 million goalkeepers are the way to go. As we saw with the 11-5 data as well, there's some decent fixtures in there for clean sheets as well. A lot of those being decent home fixtures as well. They do play Manchester City and Tottenham back-to-back, but, you know, Flecken could very easily go and get some save points in that game. But, after and before that, they've got Southampton in 3, West Ham, Wolves, United, and Ipswich all following that. A great set of fixtures for me, and you would imagine a solid defensive unit like Brentford would be able, with some of those home fixtures, to set up against these lesser teams and obviously, you know, go and get some pretty decent clean sheet points. And you would imagine Flecken probably going to get some pretty decent attacking returns. Let's move on into the defenders and obviously talk about, you know, what we're going for with these defender picks. It is going to be William Saliba who's going to start us off. Now, I think you could very easily go for Raya in goal and swap that to a Brentford defender. That would also give you an extra 0.5 million if you wanted to go and obviously go and do that. But already with this team, there is 0.5 million in the bank anyway. But obviously, if you are, you know, looking for that mill in the bank, or maybe looking for further investment further forward, you could switch to Raya and move to a Brentford defender. But I've gone for William Saliba. I feel he has been pretty phenomenal. That tackle he made yesterday was sensational. Now, they do have some difficult fixtures on paper in 4 and 5, but as we saw with the 11-5 data, it's not the end of the world for clean sheets for Arsenal in that period. And I definitely think with some of the strong defensive displays they've showed last season and in the course of this season over the opening 2 game weeks, I would bank them to go and get a clean sheet in either the Tottenham or the City game. It's a big claim, but I think it's definitely possible. And if they want to mount a title charge this season, that solid defence is going to be a key to that as well. Also, some great, amazing fixtures post Manchester City, Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth. Great set of fixtures. You wouldn't even be surprised to see Arsenal put in 3 clean sheets during that run. Next up is going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, he did come off a little bit earlier today, but I think that was just because Liverpool had the game in the bag. Obviously, against Ipswich, he created 1 expected assist. He was the highest chance creating player over that week. I think he's still, over the course of the opening 2, still the highest created chance player as well. So, you know, some amazing fixtures after United away. Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth home, Wolves, Palace, Chelsea, and then it does fall to Arsenal and does start to tail away. But obviously, with him being at that 7 million price tag, you can very easily just move him down and target different players as well. But for me, I think he is a phenomenal player and definitely one I would be looking at. Strong clean sheet data, strong projected goal data as well for Liverpool, both coming from 11-5. So from that attacking standpoint and clean sheet standpoint as well, Trent could be a fantastic player to go and pick up. Next up is going to be Gavardiol. Now, he's not obviously been the same Gavardiol we know and love from the back end of last season. Has been playing a little bit more of a reserved role. And I do wonder whether or not when Kyle Walker does start to feature back in that side, he will maybe kind of play a little bit further forward into kind of that galloping role we saw from him last season. Again, there's still some great fixtures, just kind of obviously being kind of flag-tailed, if you like, between the Arsenal-Newcastle game. Around that, though, West Ham away, Brentford at home, Fulham at home, Wolves away, Southampton at home. Again, Manchester City very strong on the projected clean sheet data as well, so I would be backing them to keep a couple. And if Gavardiol can return to the former role we saw, I think he could be a fantastic player to have in your sides. Next up is going to be Ezri Konsa. Now, we all know about this Aston Villa run that has been coming for a long time. We said it in pre-season. We earmarked it as a obviously kind of point to jump on the Villa players. If you are wildcarding, this is the optimal time for me to be going doing in that. Leicester, Everton and Wolves at home is the next 3. Following that, Ipswich, Manchester United, Fulham and Bournemouth. It's a great run. It takes you all the way into November as well, to the second international break with these players. Ezri Konsa as well, for me, feels like one of those names that is always the first on the team sheet. And playing 2 newly promoted sides within the next 5 games, I think could be a gold mine to getting some clean sheet points as well. So I would be looking at Ezri Konsa as a cheap defender. Moving on to our other defender pick, it is going to be Harwood Bellis. 4 million defender on the bench. Don't really kind of, have anything to kind of really talk about with him. I think the only reason we've got him in here is obviously if you do want to, drop the likes of Saliba, Gvardiol. Southampton have some decent-ish fixtures coming up that you could very easily rotate. Matchday 6, Bournemouth away. Matchday 5, they also play Ipswich. So it does kind of rotate nicely for the Gvardiol and Saliba's more difficult games. But I still, with the data, would back those boys to go and get a clean sheet over the likes of Harwood Bellis. Right, let's move on into the midfield, and we're going to start off first with Bukayo Saka. A goal and 2 assists so far this campaign. I think a pretty decent fixture with Brighton at home, and does represent a decent captaincy option as well for that week. Again, the Tottenham game is usually one that is full with goals, and Bukayo Saka is a player that is not shy of scoring in that big game. The City game, I'm not really expecting too much out of him, but then I want him for that run of Leicester, Southampton and Bournemouth. Represents a great captain for back-to-back weeks with Leicester and Southampton for me, and just it seems like he's taken his game to an absolute another level this season, and again, I think is a fantastic player and definitely worth his price point at the moment. Moving on to our next player and the captain for this week, because he is the second highest for projected points in game week 3. It is going to be Mohamed Salah. Now, they are playing Manchester United away. It is a grey, but historically, Salah has done very, very well in this fixture. As well as that, I think United have still looked quite shaky. We saw some of the defending and some of the slapstick kind of comedic, if you like, defending from Manchester United at the weekend against Brighton. I don't think things have changed. I still think they're a pretty shoddy defence. They were one of the worst defences last season for XG conceded. There's also some amazing fixtures coming up for Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, the next 2 as well, and represents a great captaincy option for there to me, and looks like he's kind of just picking up from where he finished last season, getting involved with goal involvements, and will be a fantastic player to own this season. One who has burst onto the radar, obviously because of his performance today, it is going to be Cole Palmer. Now, we were obviously debating whether or not Nkunku could cover him off. It's very clear that is not going to be the case. This Chelsea fixture run as well was another one that we identified in pre-season as being a great one to jump on and target after match day 3. It gave us a couple of weeks to see who the standout performers were. Cole Palmer today looked electric with the assists, with the goal. Fantastic. Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Nottingham Forest as their run for the next 5. Very easily then could go and switch to likes of Son, KDB, Foden. That is the absolute beauty of having this stacked midfield for me. It gives you the ability to go and get these other, amazing performers who can go and put up these mega scores, and offer a great alternative captain option to Erling Haaland. That's the big appeal for me when you're going for this as well. Obviously, there is that big fear factor around Erling Haaland, but for me, I think stacking that midfield out is probably the better way to play it, in my personal opinion, especially now we've had that post-Ipswich game already as well. There's definitely some other interesting fixtures where Haaland could be a great captaincy option and could go and do extremely well, but I back my other boys here to go and put up very, very similar scores over the next few weeks, and it wouldn't surprise me to see one of these guys pop off as well, putting up some absolute mega scores and maybe rivaling Erling Haaland for that hat-trick that he got this week. Moving on to a player that I definitely think is going to be on a lot more people's radars, it is Bryan Mbeumo. Southampton at home in game week 3, great fixture. You're probably going to want to bench him against Manchester City. Tottenham, I think you could play him. They are away from home, and Brentford, do love to counter-attack. After that, though, we spoke about it with Flecken. West Ham, Wolves, United, Ipswich. If Tony goes as well, he's probably going to be the number 1 penalty taker. Playing as a forward for 7 million. Bit of a cheat code. Boom, done. Again, Morgan Rogers was super impressive in yesterday's game against Arsenal. He ran that midfield for, I would say, around 75 minutes. Did look a little bit leggy after that one, but I think with Emery keeping him on the pitch, that for me shows that he's obviously viewed as an integral part of his future plans. They've got 2 newly promoted sides, very good on the projected data going forward as well. So for me, a great player to be going and picking up for game week 3 and beyond. Right, let's move on into our forwards. As you can see, we've got 2 on the bench, so we'll discuss those in a minute. Now, we do have Alexander Isak in here. It wasn't a great performance from him today, and you might be thinking, Tom, they've got Tottenham at home. Why have you got him in here? Well, if you look at the last 2 games that Alexander Isak has played against Tottenham at home, he has scored a brace in both of them. St James's Park has become a little bit of a curse for Spurs over the past few weeks. Newcastle have been electric there every single time. If you remember the 6-1 2 seasons ago as well, absolutely sensational stuff from them. So for me, I think you could keep him for the next 2. They've got Newcastle, then they've got Tottenham, then they've got Wolves, who have also looked pretty dismal over the opening couple game weeks. Fulham away, definitely a defence I think you could be targeting as well. Then after that point, I would be looking to switch off and move to Kai Havertz with Arsenal's great fixtures in 6, 7 and 8. That would be the plan. Keep that money up front. You could argue that, maybe Ollie Watkins could be a decent shout with the Villa fixtures. I think with him coming off around the 60th minute in both games and Duran coming on, I feel like his minutes aren't secured this season and not worth spending that premium price on him, in my opinion. Other forwards on the bench, we've got João Pedro. Probably one of the best enablers we're going to get this season at 5.5. Scored his goal beautifully at the weekend against Manchester United. Takes penalties as well. Looks good for minutes over the opening few game weeks. Now, Brighton's good fixtures are sporadic. Ipswich at home and Nottingham Forest at home in 4 and 5 are a great set. And again, offers you alternatives for when, Saliba, Saka, Gvardiol have those more difficult fixtures on paper, and if you wanted to play him, it would make complete sense as well. A decent fixture in 9 against Wolves, but I think for 5.5 million, you really can't go wrong with this guy. Now, you could go for Armstrong. Again, though, you're probably getting a couple more sporadic fixtures in there. Brentford, Manchester United, Ipswich, Bournemouth, Leicester, but it's like very sporadic yet again. There's a good fixture, bad fixture, good fixture, bad fixture. And I think João Pedro is more naturally a Premier League forward over Armstrong, in my opinion. And then the final player is going to be Cannon, just a 4.5 million striker. Nothing really to talk more about with that one. That was my wildcard team. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below. If you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in and we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Game Week 3.